I'd always thought my life with Emily was something solid, like a house built on stone instead of sand. We'd been together 12 years, married for 9, and she was the kind of woman who made everything feel effortless. Blonde hair that caught the sunlight just right, a laugh that could pull me out of any dark mood, and a way of looking at me that made me feel like I was still the man she'd fallen for back when we were broke and dreaming big. I'm David, by the way. 42, decent job in logistics, not bad looking if I do say so myself. Still got most of my hair and a gym membership I actually use. We lived in a quiet suburb outside Chicago, a 2-story place with a backyard we'd turned into a little oasis with a fire pit and string lights. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. That morning started like any other. I was up at 6, brewing coffee while Emily slept in. She worked late shifts at the hospital, nurse supervisor, proud of her title, and I liked letting her rest. I'd leave her a mug on the counter, kiss her forehead while she mumbled something incoherent, and head out to beat the traffic. But that day something felt off. Maybe it was the way her phone buzzed on the nightstand as I tiptoed out, a sharp little vibration that cut through the silence. I didn't think much of it, probably a work group chat, but it stuck with me, a splinter in my mind. Work was a grind, same as always. Meetings, spreadsheets, a guy named Carl who wouldn't stop talking about his fantasy football league. I kept my head down, counting the hours until I could get home to Emily. We had plans that night, nothing fancy, just takeout and a movie. She'd been distant lately, chalking it up to stress, and I figured a quiet evening might bring us back to center. Around noon, I texted her, thinking tie tonight. You in? No reply. Unusual but not alarming. She was probably elbow-deep in patient charts. By the time I pulled into the driveway at 6, the house was dark. No warm glow from the kitchen. No Emily bustling around in her scrubs or that oversized sweater she loved. I called out, "Em? You home?" Silence. Her car was in the garage, though, so I figured she was napping. I climbed the stairs, the creak of the wood under my boots the only sound. Our bedroom door was ajar, and there she was, sprawled on the bed, still in her uniform, hair fanned out on the pillow. She looked peaceful, but her phone was clutched in her hand like she'd fallen asleep mid-text. I smiled, reached to tug the blanket over her, and that's when the screen lit up. A name I didn't recognize. Chris. The message preview said, "Can't wait to see you again. Last night was..." It cut off there, locked behind her passcode. My stomach twisted. Chris. Who was Chris? I stood there, staring at her sleeping face, the woman I'd built my life with, and suddenly she looked like a stranger. I didn't wake her. Couldn't. Instead, I backed out of the room, my mind racing. Was this nothing? A coworker? A misunderstanding? Or was it the first crack in the foundation I'd thought was unbreakable? I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room, the TV on mute, some late-night infomercial flickering across the screen while my brain chewed itself to pieces. Emily came downstairs around midnight, rubbing her eyes, all soft and apologetic. "Sorry, babe," she said, voice thick with sleep. "Passed out after my shift. You okay?" I nodded, forced a smile, told concurrent mode I'd grabbed pizza instead of Thai since she hadn't answered. She kissed my cheek, grabbed a slice, and went back upstairs. It was so normal, that for a second I almost convinced myself I'd imagined that text. Almost. But I couldn't let it go. The next day, I called in sick, something I never do, and waited until Emily left for work. Her shift started at 10, and I watched her pull out of the driveway, waving like everything was fine. Then I went to war with myself. Digging through her stuff felt wrong, like I was the one betraying her. But that name, Chris, kept gnawing at me. I started with her laptop, still open on the kitchen table from where she'd been charting the night before. Password was our anniversary, sweet, right? Except now it felt like a mockery. Her email was clean. Work stuff, bills, a coupon for that candle store she loved. Nothing from a Chris. I checked her calendar next, shifts, our movie night, a dentist appointment. Then I saw it. A blocked-off chunk of time from 2 nights ago, labeled meeting. 8 to 11 p.m. She told me she was covering for a coworker that night, home by midnight. I bought it, no questions. Now I wondered what kind of meeting lasted 3 hours and didn't show up in her work schedule. I moved to her phone next, but it was with her, obviously. So I turned to the closet. Emily's a pack rat. Keeps everything. I rifled through shoeboxes, old purses, a stack of birthday cards I'd written her over the years. Then, under a pile of scarves, I found it. A tiny black notebook, leather-bound, not much bigger than my palm. It wasn't locked, just tied with a thin strap. My hands shook as I opened it. Pages of her neat handwriting, dates, times, little notes. C, 7 p.m., usual spot. C, late, worth it. C, best yet. It went back months. My chest tightened. C had to be Chris. The usual spot wasn't our house, wasn't anywhere I knew. I sat there on the closet floor, surrounded by her clothes, feeling like the air had been sucked out of the room. I didn't confront her that night. I needed more. I needed to know who he was, what they were doing, how deep this went. So I played the part, cooked dinner, asked about her day, laughed at her stories. She didn't suspect a thing. But every time she smiled, I saw that notebook in my mind, those cryptic little entries. I started planning. I'd follow her, figure out this usual spot, see it with my own eyes. I wasn't ready to lose her, not yet. But I wasn't ready to forgive her either. The next few days were a blur of pretending. I'd kiss Emily goodbye, watch her drive off, then spend hours piecing together her secret life. I didn't have her phone, but I had that notebook, and it was enough to map out a pattern. C meetings happened twice a week, usually Tuesdays and Fridays, always late. She'd tell me she was working an extra shift or grabbing drinks with the girls. Lies I'd swallowed whole. The usual spot was mentioned enough times that I figured it was a fixed location. I just had to find it. Friday came and she played her script perfectly. "Hey, babe, I'm covering for Jen tonight," she said, pulling on her jacket. "Might be late, don't wait up." I nodded, told her to be safe, even squeezed her hand like a good husband. The second her taillights disappeared, I grabbed my keys. I'd borrowed a buddy's car, didn't want her recognizing mine, and followed at a distance, heart pounding like I was some amateur detective. She didn't go to the hospital. Instead, she drove 20 minutes to a part of town I barely knew, all warehouses and dim streetlights. She pulled into a lot behind an old brick building, some kind of converted loft space. I parked a block away, watched her get out, smooth her hair, and walk inside. I waited 10 minutes, then followed. The building had a side door propped open with a brick, sloppy security, and I slipped in. Low music pulsed through the walls, something jazzy, out of place in this rundown spot. I climbed a stairwell, following the sound, until I reached a hallway with numbered doors. One was cracked open, light spilling out. I edged closer, peering through the gap. There she was, Emily, sitting on a couch, laughing, a glass of wine in her hand. And across from her a guy, tall, broad-shouldered, maybe 35, with dark hair and a smile that made my fists clench. Chris, I assumed. They weren't touching, not yet, but the way she leaned toward him, the way her eyes lit up, it was intimate in a way I hadn't seen from her in months. He said something, and she laughed again, louder, tossing her head back. I wanted to barge in, demand answers, but I held back. I needed more than this. I needed proof that would break me, or break her. So I pulled out my phone, switched it to silent, and started recording. 5 minutes, 10, just them talking, flirting, her hand brushing his arm once. Then she stood, stretched, and said, "Be right back." She was coming my way. I ducked into a shadowed alcove, held my breath as she passed within inches of me, heading for a bathroom down the hall. She didn't see me. When she was gone, I crept closer to the door. Chris was on his phone now, texting someone, smirking. I zoomed in, caught his face clear as day. That's when I heard it. A faint rustle from inside the room, then a second voice. Another guy stepped into frame, shorter, stocky, carrying a bottle of something. "She's in a good mood tonight," he said, chuckling. Chris nodded. "Always is when we're both here." Both here? My blood ran cold. This wasn't just one guy. There were two of them. I stopped recording, slipped back downstairs, and got out before she returned. Driving home, my mind spun. Emily wasn't just meeting one man. She was entangled with two. And from the way they talked, this wasn't new. I didn't know what they were doing yet, not exactly. But it was enough to shred every trust I'd ever had in her. I spent the weekend in a haze, replaying that video over and over. Emily and Chris and this other guy, stocky with a gravelly voice, laughing like they shared some private world I'd never been invited to. I didn't confront her, not yet. She came home that night at 1 a.m., smelling faintly of wine and something musky I couldn't place, and crawled into bed beside me like nothing was wrong. I lay there, eyes open, listening to her breathe, wondering how long she'd been living this double life. Saturday, she was all smiles, making pancakes, asking if I wanted to hit the farmer's market. I said yes, played along because I needed time to plan. First, I had to know who they were. The video gave me faces, voices, a starting point. Sunday morning, while Emily was out running errands, I uploaded stills from the footage to a reverse image search. Nothing on Chris, too generic maybe, but the stocky guy popped up. His name was Mark Teller, a personal trainer with a small online presence. LinkedIn, a couple fitness blogs, and Instagram full of gym selfies. One post from 6 months ago showed him at a bar, arm around a blonde whose face was cropped out. The hair, the posture, it was Emily. My Emily. Chris was harder. No hits online, no social media I could find. But I had his face and I had that building. Monday, I called in sick again. Second time in a week, my boss wasn't thrilled, and drove back to the loft. Daylight made it look less mysterious, just another gentrified shell in a fading industrial zone. I parked across the street, watched. Around noon, a guy came out, tall, dark hair, same build as Chris. He lit a cigarette, leaned against the wall, scrolled his phone. I snapped photos, zoomed in. It was him. I tailed him when he left, keeping my distance. He stopped at a coffee shop, then a gym, Mark's gym, I realized, checking the address. They were connected. That night, I dug deeper. Mark's blog had a comments section, and buried in the replies was a username. C_Russo91. A hunch told me it was Chris. I cross-checked it, found a Twitter account, private, but the bio said Chicago, coffee, chaos, the fit. I couldn't see his posts, but I had a name now, Chris Russo. 2 men, 1 my wife's secret. I started sketching out what I knew. Tuesday and Friday meetings, the loft, wine, laughter. 2 guys who seemed way too comfortable with her. It wasn't enough to prove anything physical, but it was enough to know she'd built something without me. I couldn't tail her every night. Too risky, and I had work. So I pivoted. Wednesday, I bought a cheap burner phone and a voice recorder, small enough to hide. I planted it in her car, taped under the passenger seat, set to pick up audio when it detected sound. Thursday, she said she was meeting the girls again. I let her go, waited an hour, then checked the app linked to the recorder. Static at first, then her voice. Yeah, I'll be there soon. Mark's bringing the good stuff tonight. A laugh. Chris, don't start without me. My hands shook as I listened. She wasn't even trying to hide it. Not from them, anyway. Friday, I retrieved the recorder while she showered. More audio, her humming, then a phone call. Hey, it's me. Last night was intense. I can't stop thinking about it. A pause. No, he doesn't suspect anything. I've got this. She was talking about me. I was he. The casual way she said it, like I was a problem to manage, lit a fire in me. Not sadness, rage. She thought she'd played me perfectly. She was wrong. By now, I was a man possessed. Emily's lies had turned our home into a stage, and I was done being the oblivious audience. I had names, Chris Russo, Mark Teller, places, patterns, and that damning audio. But I still didn't know the full shape of her betrayal, and I needed it airtight before I struck back. Saturday, she was off work, lounging around in yoga pants, suggesting we repaint the guest room. I agreed, smiled, even picked up paint samples with her. Inside, I was plotting. Revenge wasn't just about confrontation. It had to be surgical, devastating, something she'd never see coming. I started with the loft. Sunday night, I went back, parked a block away, and watched. No Emily this time. She was home, asleep, but Chris showed up, then Mark. They hauled in a couple duffel bags, heavy from the way they carried them. I waited until they were inside, then crept closer. The side door was locked now, but a basement window was cracked open. I squeezed through, landed in a damp, musty space stacked with boxes. Voices drifted down from above, Chris and Mark arguing about something. "She's getting careless," Mark said. "He's gonna figure it out." Chris laughed. "Not if we keep her happy." I found a stairwell, climbed halfway, and peeked into the main room. They were unpacking bottles, jars, little bags of something powdery. Not drugs, not quite. Supplements, maybe? Protein shakes? It didn't add up. Then I saw it. A stack of flyers on the table. Elite Wellness Retreat. Exclusive members only. A date 2 weeks out at a lodge upstate. Emily's handwriting was on one. A note. Confirmed E. This wasn't just a fling. They were running something together, some kind of side gig she'd kept from me. And it involved these two clowns. Monday, I called the lodge, posed as a potential client. The woman on the phone was chipper, said it was a transformative experience for couples and singles. Invite only, $5,000 a head. I asked about staff, mentioned Mark Teller, said I'd heard he was involved. She confirmed it, added, "Oh, and Chris and Emily are amazing too. Real pros." Pros at what? I hung up, mind racing. Emily wasn't just sneaking around with them. She was in business with them, some weird wellness scam. And I'd bet my left arm those late-night meetings weren't about paperwork. I needed more on the retreat. Tuesday, I tailed Mark this time. He hit the gym, then a print shop, picking up more flyers. I followed him to a diner, watched through the window as he met a woman. Not Emily. She handed him an envelope. He gave her a bag. Cash for product, maybe? I snapped photos, building my case. That night, Emily came home late again, claiming overtime. I asked casual questions. How's work? Any big plans? She shrugged, said, just the usual. Liar. Wednesday, I cracked her phone. She'd left it on the counter while she showered, and I'd seen her type the code enough times. 0312, our anniversary again. Her texts with Chris were locked behind an app, but her photos weren't. Dozens of shots. Her with Chris, her with Mark. Group pics at the loft, the lodge, smiling like she'd found a new family. One stood out. Her in a tight dress I'd never seen, sandwiched between them, all three laughing. Timestamp 2 months ago, a night she'd said she was at a conference. The caption, "Living our best life." That was it, the moment I stopped doubting. She wasn't just cheating with 2 men. She'd built a whole world without me. One where I was the fool left holding the mortgage. Rage turned cold, calculated. I'd ruin her, but not with yelling or tears. I'd take everything she'd built with them and burn it down. Step 1, infiltrate that retreat. Step 2, expose her to everyone she cared about. Step 3, make sure Chris and Mark paid too. I didn't know how yet, but I had 2 weeks to figure it out. Game on. Let me know if you'd like me to continue with parts 6 to 10. I've set the stage for an unusual betrayal involving a secret wellness scheme and 2 men, with the husband gearing up for a meticulous, cruel revenge. Here are parts 6 through 10 of the story, continuing from where we left off. Each part is approximately 700 words, written from the husband David's perspective, building toward an unconventional betrayal and a cruel, calculated revenge. The narrative deepens Emily's secret world with Chris and Mark, while David's plan takes shape. 2 weeks until the retreat. That was my timeline to dismantle Emily's hidden empire. I'd stopped seeing her as my wife. She was a stranger now, a puzzle I had to solve before I could destroy it. Thursday morning, I kissed her goodbye like always, watched her drive off, then got to work. The burner phone was my lifeline, no trace back to me. I called the lodge again, this time as James Carter, a wealthy divorcee looking for a fresh start. I name-dropped Mark Teller, said a friend recommended him. The woman on the phone ate it up, sent me an invite link after I wired a deposit. $5,000, straight from a savings account Emily didn't know about. I was in. The invite came with a welcome packet, glossy PDFs about holistic renewal, exclusive bonding experiences, and a vague promise of elevated connections. It screamed scam, but the photos showed Emily, my Emily, leading a yoga session, laughing with guests, her arm around Chris in one shot, Mark in another. She wasn't just a participant. She was a face of this thing. I dug into the lodge's online footprint. Reviews were sparse, mostly glowing 5 stars from obvious shills. But one buried comment caught my eye. Felt culty. Too much focus on the staff. Culty. That word stuck. Friday night, Emily said she was crashing at Jen's after a late shift. I didn't buy it, but I didn't follow her either. Instead, I synced the car recorder to my laptop. Hours of audio piled up. Most was mundane, her singing along to the radio, work calls. Then, jackpot, a conversation with Mark. Chris thinks we should up the ante at the retreat, he said. Her voice sharp. No, we stick to the plan. Slow burn, bigger payout. Mark grumbled. You're too cautious. David's clueless. He's not gonna catch on. She laughed. That's why this works. He trusts me. Hearing my name like that, a pawn in her game, turned my stomach to ice. I spent Saturday researching. Wellness retreats could be fronts, money laundering, pyramid schemes, worse. The exclusive bonding line hinted at something more personal, more intimate, but I had no proof yet. I needed to see it myself. Sunday, I drove 2 hours to the lodge, scoped it out. Rustic, isolated, surrounded by pines. A perfect hideaway. I parked off-road, hiked in close enough to snap photos. Cabins, a main hall, a hot tub steaming in the chill. No one spotted me, but I spotted a familiar car, Chris's, from the loft. They were prepping early. That night, I laid out my tools. Burner phone, recorder, camera with a zoom lens, fake ID I'd ordered online as James Carter. I'd go to the retreat, blend in, document everything. But exposure wasn't enough. Emily had to feel this deep. I started drafting emails, anonymous, to her hospital coworkers, her family, hinting at side projects she'd kept quiet. I wouldn't send them yet. Timing was key. Chris and Mark would get theirs too. I'd find their weak spots. Mark's gym had a Yelp page, easy target for reviews. Chris was trickier, but everyone has a past. Emily came home Monday, tired but chipper. Big week ahead, she said, kissing my cheek. Might be out of town for a training thing. I nodded, asked where. Upstate, she said, vague as ever. I smiled, said it sounded fun. Inside, I was counting down. She had no idea I'd be there, watching. The week crawled by, every day a test of my restraint. Emily floated through our routines, dinner, TV, her humming in the shower, while I sat on a volcano of evidence. Tuesday, I tested the waters. Heard about this wellness retreat upstate, I said casually over breakfast. Sounds weird, right? Like a cult or something. She froze, fork halfway to her mouth, then laughed it off. Yeah, probably a bunch of hippies doing yoga. Not my thing. Liar. Her eyes flicked away, though. Tell number 1. I let it drop, filed it away. Wednesday, I hit Mark's gym. Posed as a potential client, asked for a tour. He was there, all charm and biceps, showing off the equipment. I dropped a line. Friend mentioned you do retreats too. Exclusive stuff? His grin faltered, then recovered. Yeah, side gig. Keeps things interesting. I nodded, thanked him, left. He didn't recognize me. Emily must have kept our worlds separate. Good. I checked his Yelp later. A few 1-stars about pushy sales. Ripe for amplification. Thursday, the car recorder caught gold. Emily on speakerphone with Chris. David asked about retreats. Threw me off. Chris, smug. He's fishing. Doesn't know squat. Her, softer. Hope not. I'd hate for this to blow up. Chris laughed. Relax, babe. We've got this locked down. Babe. The word hit like a slap. I saved the clip, added it to my growing archive, photos, audio, the retreat packet. It was a web now, her deceit tangled with theirs, and I'd pull every thread. Friday, I packed for the retreat. Emily left that morning, suitcase in tow, claiming her training started early. Back Sunday, she said, hugging me. I hugged back, felt nothing. She drove off and I waited an hour before following. Different route, borrowed car again. The lodge was 4 hours north, deep in the woods. I checked in as James Carter, got a wristband, a cabin key. The place buzzed. Maybe 30 guests, all moneyed types in athleisure, sipping kombucha. Then I saw her, Emily, in a flowy white top, greeting people like a queen. Chris flanked her, Mark nearby with a clipboard. They were a unit, a trio, and I was the ghost in their midst. The first night was a welcome circle. We sat on cushions, candles flickering, while Emily led a spiel about releasing old patterns. Her voice was honey, hypnotic. I remembered why I'd fallen for her. Chris chimed in, all charisma, talking up connection exercises. Mark watched the crowd, gauging reactions. I kept my head down, spoke little, just another face. Later, I wandered, camera hidden in my jacket. Snapped shots of them laughing by the fire pit. Her hand on Chris's knee, Mark pouring drinks. Intimate, easy. My chest burned, but I stayed cold, focused. Back in my cabin, I reviewed the footage. Clear faces, timestamps, proof of their bond. I overheard a guest whisper about private sessions with the staff, extra cost, hush-hush. That was my next target. I'd sign up, get inside their inner circle, see how far this went. Saturday morning at the retreat dawned crisp, the air sharp with pine and deceit. I signed up for a private session through a discreet form at the main hall. $500, cash only, slipped to Mark in an envelope. He smirked, said, "You're in for a treat, James." I nodded, kept my voice flat. The session was set for late afternoon, a one-on-one renewal with select staff. I had a hunch who that'd be. The day dragged. Group yoga, a lecture on mindfulness, Emily's voice weaving through it all. I watched her work the room, radiant, oblivious to me 10 feet away behind sunglasses and a ball cap. Chris led a trust walk, pairing guests to stumble blindfolded through the woods. I opted out, said I had a bad knee, used the time to snoop. Found a locked shed near the cabins. Picked it with a hairpin from a chatty guest. Inside, boxes of supplements, unlabeled jars, a ledger. I flipped through names, dates, payments. Emily's initials were everywhere, tied to thousands in cash deposits. This wasn't just a fling. It was a racket. The session came at 5. A small cabin, dim lights, incense thick enough to choke on. Emily walked in, followed by Chris. No Mark this time. She smiled, professional, not personal. Didn't clock me as her husband. "Welcome, James," she said, gesturing to a mat. "This is about letting go, opening up." Chris sat cross-legged, watching me. They started with breathing exercises. Then Emily's hands guided mine to release tension. Her touch was clinical, but Chris's eyes on her weren't. Then it shifted. She asked me to share a personal burden. I lied, said I'd lost trust in someone close. Her face softened, ironic as hell. Chris leaned in. "We can help you reclaim that," he said, voice low. "Sometimes it's about rewriting your story with the right people." His hand brushed her shoulder, lingered. She didn't pull away. The session ended with a bonding ritual. Holding hands, staring into each other's eyes. I stared into hers, saw nothing of the woman I'd married. They offered a next step for another grand, declined, said I'd think it over. Left with my recorder running, catching their whispers as I exited. "He's a maybe," Chris said. "Emily, good enough." That night I crashed the staff cabin. Overhead lights off. I slipped in through a window while they were at a bonfire. Found laptops, papers, a thumb drive. Copied what I could. Files labeled client profiles. Revenue. A video folder I didn't open yet. Heard footsteps. Bolted before they caught me. Back in my cabin, I pored over it. The profiles listed guests. Some I recognized from the circle. Each with notes. Open to extras. Paid for trio. Emily, Chris, Mark. The betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was transactional. A twisted service they sold together. I barely slept, mind churning. Sunday was the finale, my chance to strike. I'd expose them, but not with a scene. Too messy. I'd use their own game. Spread the truth quietly, lethally, let it fester. Sunday morning, the retreat's last day, was all smiles and goodbyes on the surface. Guests hugged Emily, Chris, and Mark, gushing about life-changing moments. I hung back, sipping coffee, watching her glow in their praise. She'd always craved admiration, nursing gave her that, but this was different. This was her stage, her rules, and I was about to rewrite the script. My bag held the thumb drive, recorder, camera, enough to bury them. But I needed the perfect delivery. The closing ceremony was in the main hall, a gratitude circle. Emily spoke first, voice trembling with fake emotion. "You've all given us so much," she said, hand on her heart. Chris and Mark nodded, playing their parts. I raised my hand, asked to share. Eyes turned to me, James Carter, quiet newbie. I stood, cleared my throat. "This weekend showed me people aren't always who they seem," I said, locking eyes with Emily. "Sometimes trust is a lie you tell yourself." Her smile twitched, but she didn't know me. Not yet. I sat, let others talk, then slipped out during a break. Found a staff laptop unattended. Hacked it with a password guess from the ledger. Trio 2025. Amateur move, guys. Uploaded the thumb drive's contents. Client lists, payment logs, a video of Emily laughing between Chris and Mark, toasting to the suckers. Sent it anonymously to every guest email from the retreat's own server. BCC'd her hospital HR, her parents, her sister. Subject, elite wellness, behind the scenes. Hit send. Wiped my prints. Walked away. Drove home before the fallout hit. Emily stayed behind, cleanup, she'd said, so I had the house to myself. Checked my phone. The burner was blowing up with replies. "Is this real? I paid for that? Who are you?" I didn't answer, just watched it spread. By evening, her sister called my real phone. Frantic. "David, what's going on?" "Emily's a mess. Some email about a scam." I played dumb. "No idea. She's at a training thing, right?" Hung up, smiled. Monday, she came home. Pale, eyes red, suitcase dragging. "We need to talk," she said, voice small. I leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "About what?" She stammered, work stress, a misunderstanding. I cut her off. "Save it. I know about Chris and Mark. The loft, the retreat, the trio." Her face crumpled. "It's not what you think. It's worse," I said, tossing the notebook at her feet. "You sold yourself. And me." She cried, begged, said it started as a side gig, spiraled. I didn't care. Told her to pack. Get out. She did, sobbing, promising to explain later. I didn't listen. Step one was done, her world was ash. Now for them. Emily left that night, tail between her legs, mumbling about a hotel. I didn't watch her go. Didn't need to. The house felt empty but lighter, like I'd purged something rotten. Tuesday, I called a locksmith, changed every lock. Her stuff went into boxes, clothes, that sweater, her nursing books, stacked in the garage. I wasn't keeping souvenirs. Then I turned to Chris and Mark. They'd humiliated me too, and revenge wasn't complete until they bled. Mark was easy. His gym lived on reputation. 5 fake Yelp accounts later, I tanked it. Reviews about shady side hustles, creepy vibes, linked to retreat screenshots. By Wednesday, his page was a war zone. Angry clients, canceled memberships. I mailed his landlord the ledger scans, anonymous, hinting at illegal cash flow. Eviction notice would follow. I checked local laws. He'd scramble, maybe sue, but good luck proving it was me. Chris was slipperier, no gym, no public trail. But that Twitter bio, Chicago, coffee, chaos, gave me a thread. Cross-referenced it with retreat photos. A coffee shop tag popped up, a hipster joint downtown. Thursday, I went there, spotted him behind the counter. Barista by day, scam artist by night. Chatted him up as James Carter. Said I'd loved the retreat, wanted more. He grinned, slipped me a card. "Chris Russo, wellness consultant," said to call. Perfect. Friday, I used the card. Met him at a park, recorded it all. He pitched private coaching. Hinted at special arrangements with select partners. I pressed, mentioned Emily, watched him squirm. "She's out," he said, Too quick. Creative differences. I nodded, left, then sent the audio to his boss at the coffee shop. Anonymous tip about side gigs on company time. Added retreat files for spice. Saturday, his Twitter went dark. Fired, I'd bet. Emily called Sunday, begging to meet. I agreed, coffee shop, neutral ground. She looked wrecked, hair limp, no makeup. Said the hospital suspended her pending investigation. Her family wouldn't talk to her. The retreat collapsed. I never meant to hurt you, she whispered. I stared, cold. You didn't hurt me. You erased me. Stood, left her there. Revenge wasn't loud. It was this, her alone, them broken, me free. 5 parts left to tie it up. The week after Emily's coffee shop plea felt like the calm after a storm. Debris everywhere, but the sky clear. I'd gutted her world, torched Chris and Mark's too, yet I wasn't done. Revenge wasn't just about breaking them. It was about making sure they couldn't rebuild. Monday, I sat in my living room sipping bourbon, flipping through the retreat files again. That video folder I'd copied from their laptop stared back at me, unopened. Time to see it. I plugged the thumb drive into my TV, hit play. Grainy footage, a cabin like the one at the retreat. Emily, Chris, and Mark, glasses raised, laughing. To the suckers, Chris said, clinking hers. Then it shifted, Emily peeling off her top, playful, them cheering. No explicit acts, but the intent was clear. A private celebration, a trio reveling in their scam. Another clip, them counting cash, Emily noting names in that ledger. He's good for another $1,000, she said about some faceless client. My stomach churned, not from jealousy now, but disgust. I burned it to a disk, labeled it insurance. Tuesday, I mailed copies, anonymous, no return address, to her hospital's legal department, her parents, her best friend Jen. Attached a note, ask her about elite wellness. Let them see the real Emily, not the saint she'd sold them. Wednesday, Jen texted me, David, what the hell is this? She's saying it's fake. I didn't reply, let Emily dig her own grave. Her parents called 2 voices tight, asking if I was okay. Better now, I said, hung up. The disc would do the talking. Chris and Mark needed their finale. Mark's gym was already a ghost town. Reviews had spread, clients bailed. Thursday, I upped it. Sent the ledger scans to the IRS, flagged unreported income. A buddy in accounting said it'd trigger an audit, slow, brutal, perfect. Mark wouldn't dodge that with charm. Chris, though, I called his consultant number from the burner. Set another meet. Friday, park again. He looked rough, unshaven, jittery. Job's gone, he admitted. Thanks to some jerk ratting me out. I feigned sympathy, recorded it. Asked about the retreat's collapse. Emily's fault, he snapped. Too sloppy. Loyalty's thin when the ship sinks. I left him there, uploaded the audio to a burner email, sent it to Mark with a taunt. Your boy's blaming her. You next. Divide and conquer. Let them claw each other. By Saturday, Emily's sister emailed me screenshots. Chris and Mark arguing on a private Facebook thread, leaked by some ex-client. You screwed us, Mark wrote. Chris, she screwed us. Beautiful chaos. Sunday, I cleaned house, literally. Scrubbed Emily's fingerprints from every surface. Donated her boxes to a shelter. Found a photo of us, Hawaii, 5 years back. Tore it up, burned the pieces in the fire pit. She'd left voicemails, a dozen, pleading, David, I'll fix this please. Deleted them unheard. Monday, work called. Boss noticed my sick days. Offered leave. I took it, said personal stuff. Gave me time to finish this. Her hospital suspension hit the news Tuesday. Small blurb. Nurse tied to wellness scam under review. Her name wasn't public yet, but whispers were spreading. I fueled it. Posted the retreat flyer on a local forum. Anonymous with a nudge. Anyone been here? Shady vibes. Comments exploded, guests outing, private sessions. Payments, the trio. By Wednesday, her LinkedIn was gone. Profile scrubbed. She was unraveling thread by thread. Mark's turn. Thursday, I drove by his gym, sign down, windows dark. A for lease notice hung crookedly. RS must have moved fast or his landlord did. I mailed him a printout of his own flyer, circled his face, wrote, "Was it worth it?" No signature. Let him stew. Chris, meanwhile, surfaced on a job board, desperate barista with experience ad. I sent his retreat card to the listings contact. Hire at your own risk. Doubt he'd get a callback. Friday, Emily showed up. Unannounced, banging on the door, mascara streaked. "Let me in, David." I opened it, stayed calm. She looked small, broken. "They've turned on me," she sobbed. "Chris and Mark. They're blaming me for everything." I shrugged. "Sounds like your mess." She grabbed my arm. I pulled back. "You did this?" She hissed, eyes wild. "You ruined me." I smiled, cold. "You ruined yourself." I just lit the match. She left, cursing, promising lawyers. Good luck. She had no proof. Saturday, I checked the fallout. Her parents emailed, "We're cutting ties until she explains." Jen posted a vague Facebook rant about fake friends. The retreat's website was offline, domain for sale. I'd shattered their triangle. Emily alone, Chris and Mark scrambling. But I wasn't satisfied. One last twist waited. Sunday, I dug into their pasts. Loose ends bugged me. Emily's nursing license was her lifeline. I'd nudged that off the cliff. Monday, I filed a complaint with the state board. Anonymous, detailed. Unprofessional conduct, financial impropriety, retreat evidence attached. Her suspension would stretch, maybe snap permanent. She'd fight it, but the paper trail I'd leaked, ledger, videos would bury her. Nurses don't bounce back from that. Mark's gym was dead, but he wasn't. Tuesday, I found his ex-wife's blog, divorce rant from 3 years back, calling him a con artist. Sent her the retreat files. A note, "He's at it again." Wednesday, she replied, "Thanks. Filing for back support, he's hiding cash." She'd drain him dry in court. Chris, meanwhile, posted a whiny Craigslist ad, selling gym gear, cheap. I bought it through a proxy, had it shipped to a storage unit he'd never trace. Petty, sure, but watching him lose everything felt right. Thursday, Emily's lawyer called. Some smarmy guy threatening a defamation suit. I laughed, said, "Prove it." Hung up, mailed him the disc. Discovery starts here. No call back. Friday, her sister texted, "She's in rehab. Says you broke her." Rehab? Cute excuse. I didn't respond. Let her family figure out the lies. Saturday, I hosted poker night. First time in months. Buddies asked about Emily. I said, "Gone." Long story. They didn't push. Normalcy crept in. A relief. Sunday, I checked Chris's old Twitter. Reactivated. Ranting about betrayal. Mark commented, "Look who's talking." They were eating each other alive. I screenshotted it, saved it. Monday, a news blip. Wellness retreat linked to fraud probe. No names yet, but the noose was tightening. I'd nudged the IRS, sure, but ex-clients must have talked. Good. Let the feds finish what I'd started. Tuesday, I sold her car. Title was joint, my signature enough. Banked the cash, paid off the mortgage chunk she'd never touch. Revenge wasn't just emotional now. It was financial. A slow bleed they'd feel for years. I slept better than I had in months. Wednesday marked a shift. I wasn't just reacting anymore. Emily's collapse was complete. License hearing scheduled, hospital job gone, family silent. Chris and Mark were shadows of themselves. Broke, bickering, scrambling. But I wanted a monument to their ruin, something tangible. Thursday, I hired a PI, cash, discreet, to dig deeper. Gave him their names. Retreat files. Said, "Find dirt." He grinned, promised results. Friday, Emily tried again. Email this time, long, rambling. "I loved you, David. It was a mistake, a rush. Forgive me." Loved me? She'd loved the game, the power, them. I archived it, no reply. Saturday, the PI called goldmine. Mark had a juvie record, sealed but hinted at theft. Chris had a DUI, hushed up, and a pending small claims case from an old landlord. Minor, but leverage. I told the PI to leak it. Forums, local papers, anywhere their names might stick. Sunday, it hit. A blog post. Wellness gurus' shady pasts. Citing sources. Their credibility already thin, dissolved. Monday, I framed the retreat flyer. Emily's smile, Chris's smirk, Mark's pose, hung it in my office. A trophy, a reminder. Tuesday, I met a realtor, sold the house, too many ghosts. Wednesday, Mark's ex-wife emailed. Court ruled. He's paying up. Thanks. I smiled, another nail. Thursday, Chris's coffee shop posted a help wanted sign. He was out, replaced. Friday, Emily's rehab stint leaked. Gossip site, low rent but viral. Nurses fall from grace. Her mask was off. Saturday, I moved, new condo, city edge, clean slate. Unpacked that night, found her old notebook under a couch cushion. Burned it in the sink, watched the ashes swirl down the drain. Sunday, I cooked for one, steak, wine, silence I didn't hate. Revenge had carved me hollow, but it was filling back with something new, control, maybe peace. Monday, the PI's final report landed. Mark was couch surfing, gym debts piling up. IRS seized his accounts. Chris was back with his parents, jobless, a shell. Emily left rehab, moved to a cheap apartment downtown. License revoked, nursing career dust. The retreat probe widened. Feds sniffing fraud, tax evasion. They dodge jail, probably, but freedom's cold when you're broke and despised. I'd won, not loud, not fast, but total. Tuesday, I walked the condo, bare walls, fresh paint. No trace of her. Sold the last joint asset, our old vacation fund, donated half to a shelter, kept half for me. Wednesday, a coworker asked, "You dating yet?" I laughed, said, "Not ready." Truth was, I didn't trust Easy Now, Emily's gift. Thursday, Mark's ex sent a photo, him at a food bank, head down. Friday, Chris's Craigslist ad begged for work. Any work. Emily's sister posted, "She's trying, but it's hard." Trying what? To claw back dignity? Too late. Saturday, I hiked. First time in years. Woods quiet, air sharp. No voices but mine in my head. Thought about her, them, less with anger now, more like a scar fading. Sunday, I framed a new photo, me alone, lake behind me. Hung it over the fireplace. The retreat flyer stayed in my office. A private taunt they'd never see. Monday, work felt normal, spreadsheets, Carl's football rants. After, I grabbed a beer with a buddy, talked sports, not her. Tuesday, a news update. Wellness trio named in civil suit. Ex-clients sue. Smiled at that, let them drown in lawyer fees. Wednesday, I cooked again, slept deep. Thursday, a woman at the gym smiled at me. First spark in months. Didn't act, just noticed. Friday, I donated her wedding ring, pawn shop, no sentiment. Saturday, I sat on my balcony, city lights sprawling. They were footnotes now, Emily, Chris, Mark, crushed under their own weight, my push the final shove. Sunday, I wrote this down, not for them, for me. Closed the book, locked it away. Revenge was done, cruel as promised. I was free. Not the man I'd been, but one I could live with. Maybe even like.